What's up guys, welcome back to the Nurse Nook. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Alexis Nicole and I make videos all about nursing, lifestyle, and wellness. So in this video, I'm going to be focusing on grad school. I am currently a level 4 NICU nurse. I've been a nurse for almost 7 years now, but I'm also currently in a graduate program to become a neonatal nurse practitioner. I've been in this program for over 2 years. I have 2 semesters left, so I have a lot of tips and insight to share with you guys on my thoughts about working as a nurse, going to grad school, and my experience. I shared a lot of update videos during my grad school program, so if you have not already seen that, definitely go and give that a look. I'll have some videos linked in the description box. In this video, I'm going to answer the question, can you work as a nurse and still go to grad school? And I'm also going to tell you how you can. So one, to answer the question, yes, I absolutely believe that you can work as a nurse and go to graduate school. I say that with some caveats though. For one, I definitely think it depends on the type of program. If you're going to a program that requires clinical hours, I definitely think it makes things a lot harder to stay working full time. For example, I'm in a program right now that requires quite a bit of clinical hours. So that means I have to be physically present in the hospital. Depending on what you're going back to school for, some programs do not require contact clinical hours, or if they do, it's not as significant as nurse practitioner hours. I'm just gonna preface this by saying this video is not at all directed to CRNAs. That is a total other monster, and I'm almost positive no program lets you work during that schooling, but I'm focusing more on the nurse practitioner schooling in this video. So from my personal experience, if you're working full-time and you're considering going back to work, I think in your program before clinical starts, so typically programs have 1, 2, even 3 semesters without any clinical experience. And that is how my program is structured. So I went 3 semesters without any clinicals. Actually, no, I think I went 4 semesters with no clinicals. So the first 4 semesters were 0 clinical hours, just a few on-campus days here and there, and a lot of online work. So if you are in a program similar to this, I think it is absolutely possible to stay full-time. And in fact, majority of the students in my program did just that. If you're working the traditional 3/12s, it's definitely feasible to dedicate the other 4 days to school projects, studying for exams, completing discussion boards. I 100% think that is so doable. However, once you start getting to clinicals, I think it is very difficult to stay full-time. I personally was part-time the entirety of my program, but I went part-time for health reasons. When I say health, I mean a night shift was kicking my butt. And so I was having trouble getting to a day shift position. So in order to cope mentally, I just went part-time, and I honestly just never went back when I went into days. And it ended up working out because I started school and it was very conducive to my lifestyle at the time. So even now that I'm in clinicals, I have clinicals during my semesters 2, sometimes 3 times a week, majority of the time 2 times a week. So with working part-time, I'm in the hospital working as a nurse 2 days a week, and then I'm in the hospital working as an NNP student 2 days a week. So majority of my weeks, 4 days in the hospital, still studying for exams, still completing assignments, projects, and what have you. It definitely is difficult, but I definitely think it is possible. So how can I do that? I'm gonna take you guys to the beginning. If you are thinking about going back to school and you're working as a nurse, these are some things you can do. Number 1, the very first thing you should do before deciding to go back to school is to have a plan, have a goal. I highly discourage people going back to school just because they feel like they need to do something. This is something that can be very dangerous, and you can end up in a position where you went back to school just to kind of do it, and now you're out of school, you don't really know where you want to go, and you end up working as a bedside nurse and not really using your degree. I know this sounds kind of crazy, but this actually happens quite a bit. So I think before making that decision to go back to school, instead of wasting all that money and not using your degree, I think you should have a solid plan of exactly what you want to do. Now, it's okay to be unsure. Maybe you have a few different avenues, but you want to explore clinicals and see what you would like best. I can totally agree with that, but to have no plan, no idea, no direction, I think that is something that is going to set yourself up for failure. I think to make the most out of your education, your money, your time, I think you should go into school having a plan, an idea, and some sort of direction. Something else that I think would be so helpful during this time is to speak to your manager. Let your manager know, hey, I'm going back to school. My schedule is not going to have as much flexibility. There are a lot of managers out there that are willing to work with you, willing to be a little bit more lenient on your schedule if you come to them first and say, hey, like this is what my schedule is going to be looking like. I won't be available on these days. You'd be surprised the assistance that your unit can provide to you during this time. So like I mentioned earlier, once you get into the clinical aspect, I think it is very, very difficult to stay full-time in the program. So maybe consider dropping down to part-time if it's feasible to you. Now, if you know that you're going to be going back to school within the next year, months, whatever it is, I highly recommend having some sort of savings in place, some sort of cushion to kind of take the hit if you do decide to go part-time. And just keep in mind, this is not forever. It's a short period of your life that you're going to have to sacrifice time and money for the greater good. And so I think going into it, having a bit of savings to fall back on is definitely beneficial. Also, I think during this time, it's hard to get around it, but you need to be tight with your money. If you've now decreased the amount of hours you're working, if you're now dipping into savings, it goes without saying that you need to be a little bit tighter with your budget. And this is something that applies to me wholeheartedly. I have definitely cut back on taking trips. I've cut back on going out to eat at nice places. And of course, in the moment, it's not fun. Like I have to miss out on a destination wedding because I'm in school. And that's okay, because I know that this is not forever. This is a temporary sacrifice for a long time gain. And I keep repeating that to myself because in the moment, it's hard to make these decisions. It's hard to have the FOMO to miss out, to want to go out to eat at some place or to go wherever it is. But you know, you're going to be putting yourself in a not ideal position by doing that. And whenever I get into those positions, I just constantly remind myself of what the goal is here. And I just remember that this is not forever. You know, you can't have great reward without great sacrifice somewhere. So I am willing to do the work to kind of put my head down and just power through. Another tip that I think is so imperative if you are planning on going back to school and you're still working as a nurse is you need phenomenal organization skills. And I don't mean just organizing the things in your house. Yes, I think that is huge. I think if your space is clean and neat, then your mind has a better opportunity to be clean and neat, and vice versa. But I mean, you need to be organized with your scheduling, your timeline of your day, and of your free time. Sometimes I waver in my organization and I can clearly tell a difference in my mental health, my motivation, how well I'm doing on my projects, on schools, on my discussion boards, by how organized I am. For example, day before yesterday, I woke up, I had a long day at work. I was so tired. I kind of was just lazy throughout the day. I had a goal in mind of what I wanted to do. I did not complete it, and I ended up going to sleep feeling really guilty and bad about having not done much of anything that day. I woke up the following day, which was yesterday, and I had that on my mind of how I don't want to repeat the pattern I repeated yesterday. So the first thing I did when I woke up, I wrote down my priority for the day, and I wrote down every single thing on my to-do list. 50% was personal, 50% was school related, and I knocked out everything on that to-do list. And that's what I mean about having organization. Organize your day. When you write things down, you are committing a small part of saying to yourself, I'm gonna get this done. Have things written out, whether you use a Google Calendar, pen and paper, whatever it is. Organize your time. Show yourself your goals for the month, what you have to do for this day, this week, whatever it is, but be organized with your studies. Another great tip is to establish a support system. Personally, my support system is my fiance and the community I have around me, which are my friends. I have friends that are going back to school as well, so I definitely lean on them for study dates, just motivation. The fact that I have people in the same era of life as I do makes it a lot easier to kind of get through this time because I know that I'm not alone. I can lean on my fiance because he's also a nurse practitioner, and so he gets it. So I use him to kind of vent and to talk through things, and he gives me a lot of motivation, and I'm able to just kind of unload some of the weight on my back. So whatever that looks like for you, whether you have friends, family, coworkers, anyone you can lean on for support during this time, makes the experience so much better. And then the last tip I'm going to leave with you guys is to focus on creating some sort of balance. It's easy to let school consume your entire life, but it's important to still have time to do what makes you happy, because if not, you're going to get burnt out pretty quick. So some of the things I like to do for my personal mental health is I love to take bubble baths, I love to go on walks, and I love to read. And so those are things that I have had a lot less time to do because of schooling, but I find a way to have a balance. So maybe I will take my iPad in the bathtub and scroll through slides while I'm taking a bath, or I'll listen to a lecture while I'm going on a walk. It's a way to still incorporate things you need to get done with things you want to do, but you cannot forget to take care of yourself during this time. But those are my tips on going to grad school and still working as a nurse. If you guys have any tips that you want to share, any experiences, please leave them down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.